DeAna, Drew, thank you for joining us today to provide some insights on the relocation process. Now, before we get started, could you provide us with some background about your company and your experience with similar projects?
Yes, we've spent the last 30 years doing habitat restoration and management of lakes for both city, state, and federal. I'm a EPA watershed specialist, and we also have other certifications that would allow us to do what we do on site. Some of the other sites that we've worked on for Rancho Cucamonga, Fontana, City of Fontana, LA City, LA County, and one state project for Kenneth Hahn Regional Park.
DeAna, I see that you've got something interesting there in your hand. So in your 30 years of experience, could you tell us what you found in these ponds and lakes?
Well, we find everything. This we found this morning here at Village Pond Park. It appears to be a bracelet somebody lost in the water. We found everything from bicycles, skateboards, jewelry, coins, lots of coins, urns, guns, also a sheriff's badge.
So Village Pond Park is primarily occupied by ducks, geese, turtles, and fish. How do you plan to collect these animals, and what's your method to safely catch and properly handle them?
So as you can see, there's a wide variety of animals currently living in the park. There's wild waterfowl, which are like the coots you see, the Canadian geese, some of the mallards that are walking around. And then there's also a large population of domestics, which are those geese that everyone is so fond of, and the red slider turtles that we find in the lake. And those are typically abandoned pets. So when we begin this project and the relocation efforts, we will start with the domestic birds, so the geese and the white ducks that we see. And we'll begin by feeding them. They've already started to get a little accustomed to us in our yellow jerseys. And so we've begun feeding them in the area where a secondary fence will be built. And as they get more accustomed to that area, eventually we'll be able to corral them in, close the gate, and then transport them from the park safely to our wildlife refuge up in Tehachapi. And from there, they'll be able to find homes for these birds and vet potential adoptees.
And what types of fish do you think we'll likely find in the pond?
So when we go through the pond as it's being drained and begin sanding it, we'll typically find game fish like your sunfish, bluegill, occasionally some maybe small bass and different species of bass. But then there will also be the potential that we'll run into ornamentals such as goldfish and koi, and in those cases we'll be finding those homes, adopted homes as well.
So Drew, after you've caught the animals, where do they go?
So we have been working with a rescue up in Tehachapi, California to handle the domestic waterfowl. They're Pacific Waterfowl Rescue, and they have excellent facilities up in Tehachapi, and they're already working on finding new homes for the domestic geese and the ducks that we see running around here. And then for the turtles, we've been working with the Orange County Turtle and Tortoise Club, and they provide similar services to help relocate some of the abandoned turtles we'll find in the park.
DeAna, will any of the animals be returned to the park and the pond?
The only ones that may be returned will be the game fish, based on the decision of Fish and Wildlife. We're waiting as we start to work on the lake. They'll let us know. The turtles will not, because they are an invasive species and create a lot of health hazards and health issues. At this stage, the site will be for the waterfowl that come and go. They'll come, spend a moment here, and then get some water, get a little food from nature, and then go on their way like they should be, and not stay and overpopulate and get injured and sick.
All right, so tell me, what will happen to the injured and sick animals?
So as we begin the draining project and the reconstruction of the lake, as machinery begins being brought in, a majority of the wild waterfowl will just fly away, But as that's happening, we'll be able to identify ones that may have previously been injured and have been living in the park as sort of just a safe area. And when we find those injured and possibly sick animals, we will be taking the waterfowl to Wetlands and Wildlife Center in Huntington Beach, where they have specialists on hand to perform veterinarian treatments as well as rehabilitation and ultimately release. With the turtles, we'll be working with the Orange County Turtle and Tortoise Club, where they also have similar specialties but with turtles and tortoises.
DeAna, how long do you think the process of catching the animals will take?
Well, we figure the first phase is going to take about a month, and then that's with the wildlife, the waterfowl. And once we get that, with the help of Linda Burnfin, who is our volunteer, she knows these animals better than anybody. Then we go into the second phase as the lake is lowered. Based on how long it takes them to pump the water out, they're figuring about a month to maybe a month and a half. So in total, 2 months, 2.5 months.
So Linda, DeAna mentioned that you're volunteering for this project as a Lake Forest resident, I assume.
Yes, I am.
Can you tell us a little bit about why you chose to volunteer?
Well, we've been coming by, me and a few other people have been kind of coming by here and checking on the animals for about 5 years now. We saw that there was some things going on that we wanted to check to make sure that there wasn't hooks in their mouths and stuff. So we just watched over the animals, and now because of the draining the pond, we just want to make sure that they go to a safe environment. And we found that DeAna and Drew here is very animal friendly, so we know that by letting them take care of the animals, they're going to go into a nice and nice home and be protected. And it's all about the protection, and we want to help out with the animals because we have a lot of passion towards the animals. And this park also, we've lived here a long time, so.
So Village Pond Park has been a part of our community for many years. And some people like to enjoy the park, they come here, they observe the animals, but other folks like to come to the park to feed the animals. Really, it's not a very healthy practice for the animals, is that, DeAna?
No, it's not. The wildlife has their own food at every site they go to. There's plenty of water for them. They'll eat little fishes in the water. They'll eat grubs, insects in the soil and around in the bushes. That's their natural food. Feeding wildlife bread and tortillas and whatever human food you happen to have is the worst thing to give them, because what it does is it upsets their stomach. It stops them from migrating, and also they overpopulate, and so it's very important not to feed the animals.